Fire Radio.
Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters. And by now, you think I would totally have that cadence down, and I still make it up every time I go to like how I'm going to do that main intro, which doesn't change at all. I just babble. But I do want to get right into my guest because he does have an amazing story that is one of those that, as I was scrolling through social media a while back, and he's a longtime friend of mine now, I guess. I almost fell off my chair when I saw what he had to post. But right before I introduce him, I do want to thank my good friends at Mercedes Textiles. I'm going to slide over if you're on YouTube and watching this, because when you look where I have my microphone placed, it just looks like I have crazy hoses coming out, but it's really a Kraken on my shirt from them, and it says "Make the Push." So thank you to Lydia and all the folks up at Mercedes for their new swag that will be available on their website shortly. Once that happens, I'll be posting about that because I did get some other cool swag from them too. But this Kraken is like a total tattoo type design as I try to talk near the mic and show the camera as the camera's following me. But anyway, good stuff there. Enough about me, though. My guest today, I met, it was probably like 10 years ago almost, and it was one of those random 555 things where, and it's one of those things I can tell you kind of the exact moment and how it all happened, because we have a cool connection to where he works and someone that I've known my whole life and that worked down there. But we were on the West Coast, San Diego, at the Firefighter Throwdown, which was attached to a show, and I don't remember what the name of that show was. That doesn't exist anymore. It might have been Firehouse West, I think is what they were calling it at that time. But Scott here was a competitor in the Firefighter Throwdown, and we had decided through some good friends of ours, we had a barbell, that we were going to give away a barbell to one of the competitors who my partner with 555, Larry, felt was just the like kind of the essence of the competition. You know, someone that was really supportive, who appeared to us to possibly be a good firefighter. We were only watching him compete. He and she, they were meant females and females compete out on a competition floor. But Larry picked Scott for the way he was acting towards all the competitors and cheering them on. And it turns out that he worked for a fire department that a former director of my department went down and became the chief of. And since then, I think we've been friends. So Scott D'Angelo, is that the story? Is that how we met? Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did it right. That's awesome.
Right?
You hit it just right.
I don't really remember.
I still have that barbell too. Yeah,
it's a good barbell. I still have mine too, obviously, right?
It's a good barbell. Yeah,
barbell. Yeah, 555.
My favorite one that deadlifts really well. Actually, it's a great barbell.
My wife uses it more than I do these days, but it definitely wasn't right. That was about 10 years ago, I think, when you were competing in the firefighter.
Yeah, right? I think it was 2014, 2015 when I was heavily into CrossFit. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going. Oh no, because you're going to be a few weeks. So I've had a lot of CrossFit heavy guests on. I'm going to have to work on that. But that was when you were heavily into CrossFit, and now you're
was CrossFit anymore, heavy. Right? Yeah. So
yeah.
there's always a story there. You know, you can only be heavy into it for so long.
I do agree, but I feel like that with any almost form of fitness, you can only be heavy into it for so long, right?
Absolutely, because before CrossFit, I was heavily into endurance sports. So I did that for about 10 years. So yeah, you can only, and especially if you're competing. If you're competing, as you know, and working, it's really hard to compete and work, especially as a firefighter. If you're a dialed in firefighter who works on your craft, it's really hard to do both. But do you think I had a good run.
Nothing wrong with that. Do you think, though, that speaks to something, though, like towards the emergency services mindset of that? You know, one of the things that I know I love about being a firefighter is every shift is different, right? You're not going in and punching the clock and sitting at your desk and doing things. Like, you just never know what you're going to get. And I feel like when we talk about, you know, athletic type endeavors, it's the same thing. Like, I kind of got bored of just running. So I started doing triathlons.
It is the same. You're 100% right. And a funny story, because at the end of my endurance era, I did one of the last things I did was called the Furnace Creek 508, which is a 508-mile bike ride through Mojave Desert. And when I was training for it, I was so tired of riding my bike on A1A or outside. I did all of the training on a trainer and watched movies because that's how bored I was with it.
Where
And
it's
I
like I
knew
just need
then,
something else, right?
yeah, I knew then that okay, it's time to switch my focus. And that was right around the time that I started heavily getting into CrossFit, and that was just a mind blowing experience. That because back then, it's not as advanced as it is now, and everything involved with it. So it was a great era, a great time. I still enjoy it. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to it soon.
And so wait, let's go back to a little bit of this 508 miles through a desert on your bike. How long does that take
Yeah.
the average person? Not the person who's winning the
Oh,
race, just the
the
average
average
biker.
person is not going to be able to do it. So,
Well, I mean the average biking person who trained. Let's preference
you're
that.
looking at
Don't do
about
this.
30 plus hours to 48
Oh,
hours.
that is
So,
so much time in the saddle. Like,
yeah, yeah, it is. The coolest race I did was a race called Badwater, which was a 135-mile run through the desert in the summertime.
you've
And
done that a few times though, haven't you? Because I
no,
feel
I've
like I
only done
followed
it.
you doing that.
I've crewed it a few times, but I've only done
Okay.
it once.
Okay.
And I did it in 2012, and I felt like that was at the top of my game then. I think I was like early 40s, and I felt like I was in the best shape of my life at that point, and I could do anything then. No matter you name it, I could do it, and that's how I felt, and it was
Well,
an
that
amazing
far in
way
the
to
desert.
feel.
That
Hmm.
far in the desert, I do think you can do anything if you get through that one. Like,
Yeah, and then the crazy part is thinking back of what happened to me. Now that we're here to talk about is how much how much uh how much was my heart blocked then?
okay,
You know what I
so let's
mean?
go.
This is
Let's
yeah.
let's
So
swing this because again, the story to my podcast is not scripted. We've talked about this multiple times.
yeah,
So, I
people
never
are
go
like,
in
"What are
any
you
order
talking
because we're
about?"
firemen. So let's talk about what
Yeah,
just recently happened to you that did not get you on the show because we've talked about that before this. But
but
what
it's good we
happened?
talk a little bit about the endurance stuff
Yeah.
because when I tell the story, it'll make a lot more sense. So what happened to me is on August 7th, I had a quadruple bypass. The story leading up to it, I'll try to make it as fast as possible. I retired in 2022. So, and about around that time, 2022, or maybe even right around that time, I felt like I wasn't as good shape cardiovascular wise as I was before. So I was doing a little bit of CrossFit, but a lot of Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting. So I didn't really need to run and do that stuff as much, but I wanted to be back in kind of a running shape again. So and also I felt as if I did a CrossFit class that I was just kind of not, I was just getting a little short of breath. So I'm like,
But
okay,
just a
well,
little short of breath, right?
just a
Like,
little. Like I'm
okay.
58 years old. Okay, I can't keep up with the 25-year-olds, but I'm still not as good as I was. So I'm like, I'm going to do a cardiovascular program to get myself back in shape. I'm going to do a running program, which is actually the running program was by Chris Hinshaw, who's is one of the
He is one of
endurance
the most
CrossFit
elite.
coach.
He's also like one of the
Yeah,
most elite endurance or running
right,
coaches when it comes to form. I've been
right.
fortunate enough to work
Everything.
with Chris, yeah,
Me too.
on a
Yeah.
few events. I've watched him watch someone take 4
Hmm.
strides on a treadmill. He
It's
tells
amazing.
them to stop. He
Hmm.
literally is like, just turn your foot a quarter of an inch to
Yeah,
the left, and the next 4
yeah.
strides are amazing. So he is one of the best running coaches in the country, if not the world,
He
probably at
is.
this point.
And I went to Power Monkey Camp a couple times, and I worked with him there. And I noticed that my running just wasn't like what it was. I could normally run an 8-minute mile in a CrossFit class, or if I really pushed it a little faster, and I'm running 10, 13-minute miles. Like something's wrong here. So I start Hinshaw's program, and I had felt this burning in my chest before, but I really wasn't sure what it was. And every time I would run, I would get this burning in my chest, like just a burning. And I'd stop and I'd walk. It would go away. And I would always be able to finish my run, no matter the distance or the speed. But I still having that burning in my chest, which concerned me. So I finally went to a doctor because I also
Finally.
do have asthma. Yeah, well, I have asthma too. So I'm thinking maybe it's all connected. And I went to a doctor, and that doctor said I had acid reflux, put me on medication. So I'm okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, which again, medically, that makes sense, right? Because it'd be the first thing I would tell if someone was to say to me, "Hey,
Absolutely.
there's just it goes away." So, all right, you have a little
Yeah, it
acid
goes
blockage.
away. I'm just out of shape. So when I finished Henshaw's running program, I wasn't running any faster. So, like, I have never done a detailed program in my life where I didn't get better. So that led me to some concern. So what did I do? I
You
started
did
it
a different
over
program.
again. No, I did the same
Oh, you did the
program.
same
I'm
program
going to do
over
it
again.
again. Yeah, I'm going to do it again. This is
Okay.
bullshit. So because I just wanted that response, I still was having the burning, and I just kind of gave up on it. But the burning would still come if I did like a real hard CrossFit class or something. So time went by, 2 years maybe more, and I started feeling that burning, doing other things like walking upstairs. Okay, this isn't right. And I even did Murph in May this year with that burning. I
Oh.
did Murph with chest pain.
Were you
Uh,
bringing anything up while this was happening? Now we're gonna get like any phlegm or any
no,
weight
I
from
had
the
some
burning.
like I had some like gagging sometimes. Some days I would just like cough for no reason and it would just stop. And that's the only other symptom I had. And it was really quick. It would stop. No big deal. I was taking medicine for it, but then I stopped taking it because it really wasn't helping. So I said, well, I started doing some research. And I said, well, I could have a hiatal hernia, or I could have this thing where my esophagus doesn't close. So I made an appointment with an internal medicine doctor, which took me a while to get into. This is back in June. So it was right when I got back from a trip with my wife to Portugal and Spain. And I didn't tell her, but on that trip, I was getting that burning a lot. Because have you ever been to Portugal?
I have not, but I want to go.
Fucking stairs and hills everywhere. So I was concerned. So when I went back, I saw the doctor. I told her the whole kind of story I told you just now, and she says, "You have chest pain." I'm like, been a paramedic for 33 years. I don't have chest pain. She goes, "You have chest pain. You need to see a cardiologist right now." And in my head, I'm thinking, "Great. It took me 3 months to see you."
Yeah.
And she called a cardiologist on the phone and said, "I got someone you need to see ASAP." And he couldn't see me that day, but he saw me the next day. Saw him, same story. 10 minutes. He goes, "We're going in for a cardiac cath." Because I also have a family history of this.
Okay. So that was going to
So,
be one of my
which
paramedic
is the,
questions coming up is
yeah,
like your
which is the
family
big,
history is
which is the big predecessor.
sure.
That I do have a family history of it, but everybody happened to them later, but they were all sedentary. So who knows what the story line is there. But I told him, and then he goes, "I need to do a cardiac cath on you as soon as possible." He goes, "It takes about 14 days to schedule it." They scheduled me in 9 days.
And that was without
And
even a stress test. Like they didn't want to stress you in
no,
any way whatsoever.
he
Just
goes,
let's
he
go.
goes, "I don't need a stress test because it's going to tell me what I already know." And I had a stress test every single year at the fire department that I crushed. So, and I had blood work every year at the fire department. So I had all these things, but it was my story when I told him
Yep.
and the family history. He goes, "I already know that you have blockages or you might need a stent or surgery." He goes, "I don't need to waste time on any test." So I fast forward to the cardiac cath. So I had to wait for the cath. And mind you, I felt amazing. Matter of fact, 2 days before my cath, I was at a Power Monkey clinic, weightlifting and gymnastics, and I absolutely crushed it. Like I think I could have PR'd my clean and jerk that day. Honestly, could have. That's how good I felt.
So do
I,
you
I
think I don't
mean,
want to forget
I
this?
felt amazing.
I don't want to
That's the
forget
part
this
that pisses
question,
me
man.
off.
Right? Well, that's what
Yeah,
like I'm kind of getting at here, where like you felt amazing this whole time,
yeah,
and it just it's these little things, right, where you're like, ah, it's burning,
yeah,
but I'll just move on. And it
yeah.
just it's like
Walk it
almost
off.
boggling my mind how it's still boggling my mind listening you tell me the story today, how it can just happen, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if I have a high tolerance for pain or I'm just one of those types of people. I'm like, oh, just a little burning. It goes away. It didn't wake me up in the middle of the night. It didn't. It wasn't any kind of crushing pain that radiated anywhere. It wasn't anything that gave me any pause. It was just, oh man, this is part of getting old. I have to eat Tums or watch what I eat, or this is it. Here we go. Here comes the getting old part of my life. So I go on for the calf, and I even told my wife, I could just drop me off. It'll be fine. They're probably just going to throw a stent in there. I'll be good to go. Because my buddy had the same thing, same exact symptoms. He had a stent. He was home that same day, and so I went into it nonchalant. And of course, she did. She went home and waited, and they called her and they said, "You need to come here right away." So because when I woke up, I thought I was being punked. He said, "You have 85 and 95% blockage in your heart." And we all know, as paramedic and firefighters, that's called the widowmaker,
Yes.
which means I could have dropped dead at any time. Who knows how long it's been blocked like that. So they admitted me right away because they wouldn't let me go home. And they couldn't do the surgery right away because they put me on medicine before the cath, which affected the way my platelets respond to healing. So I had to wait there for 8 days, which was horrible. Mind you, 2 days before this, I was lifting heavy weights.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck in a hospital for 8 days, not sleeping because it's a hospital. And by the
Did you
eighth
have
day, I
so
was
your
losing my
your
mind.
your initial, because again, going back to paramedic days, your initial cath,
Yeah,
you were in the hospital, or were you in an outpatient type cath lab or in a smaller hospital?
outpatient, but it was at the hospital.
Okay.
So they just
Be-
wheeled my ass upstairs.
Because like I've
Yeah,
worked in facilities or worked on critical care transport trucks where we would go to a hospital that had a cath lab in it, but they couldn't do
yeah.
anything else but like a simple cath or a stent, and we would transport someone there. So at least you didn't have to
Oh,
go through that one, I guess.
that's what would have happened, and I'll be looking at the medics like, "What's up, guys?" So glad that didn't happen.
Right?
But
Because
so then I
that's
went
one
up
of those
for
things.
yeah, and then I was stuck there for 8 days, which sucked. And then finally, my blood work came back okay, and they were due to surgery the next day. And there was a cyber strike on the blood supply in Florida, well, of all Southeast. So my surgery had to be put off a whole nother week, but at least they let me go home.
Oh my god.
So my surgery was put off. So
So
kind of
when
sucked.
when you were and you did 25 years in the fire department, how many years? I can't.
33.
33. Oh geez, I'm not even giving you your credit. When did you start? Let's
It's
go back
okay.
to that real quick. When did you? How did you?
1988.
And because why? Why did you get into the emergency services?
Well, it's something I kind of always wanted to do because I had, the old story of, I had friends who their dads were firemen, and I always thought that their dads were cool, and that type of thing. And back in the '80s, for guys like me, which is not a bad thing, but it's that grew up with not with a lot of money. It was either a trade, military, or
Fireman
fire
or cop?
department.
Fireman or cop?
Yeah.
Like that's it. Yep.
So I thought about. I almost went into the military. I kind of wish I did. I think that would have been a nice experience for me. I think I would have done really well. But I chose the fire department, and I fucked around for a couple years, partying too much, drinking too much, uh, working for I made more money valet parking than I did when I started as a fireman.
Oh,
But I
you were
finally
in.
got my shit together. I went to fire school, did all, and I started in the late '80s. And it was a really crazy time to be in the fire service.
Well, it was probably a crazy
So
time to be
different.
a valet parker in South Florida in that type
Let me
of
tell
time
you, the
frame in the
cars,
80s.
the cars that I got to drive.
And the folks
Yeah.
whose cars you were driving and what could have been in those cars, who knows, right? Like
Oh,
we've all watched the Netflix
unbelievable.
documentaries. Like
Oh, it's
we
all
lived
true.
it. Yeah.
I watched that. I'm like, that's true. It's true. So yeah, so
But
the '80s. It was the '88. So I worked at one fire department before West Palm. I worked at City of Lake Worth, which is a very small department that was just south of there. That's been taken over by the county now. But it was great. My first day on shift, we had two fires. I'm like, this is amazing. I love this, and never turned back. And then I went 5 years there. I went to West Palm, and West Palm, I got there during downtown Uptown, where we had 2 or 3 fires a day. So I thought that's what it was always going to be like. And that ran
it's
out.
not.
But I'm glad I was a part of that. And I think back on those times, and I was always more worried about the exposure and the cancer that I was going to be exposed to. I never thought it was going to be heart disease that tried to take me out.
See, I feel
I
like the
lived through
exact
all
opposite.
that. Yeah,
This
well, the more I read about it, yeah, heart disease is still the number one killer
yeah, but
by
like
far.
at this point, me still being there, right, and feeling
Yeah,
like listen, I'm in good shape, and we've done a lot with
yeah,
555, and I get checked out every year. I'm on the cancer end now where I'm like, I don't want to put my turnout gear on unless I have to. Where like I'm scrubbing myself after fires and being like, why
I
wasn't I doing
know.
this in 2000? Well, I was taking a shower in 2000, like you know what I mean? But I wasn't cleaning myself like I am now. Let's say
I
it's
know,
just
but are we scaring ourselves into it, or are we just trying to get the low hanging fruit or mitigating the risk? I had a part of the University of Miami. I did a little during COVID, they got a hold of me and they, I volunteered to do some research with them. And then when I retired, I did a PFAP study with them,
Okay.
which is the blood work, and it all came back negative. And I was surprised. I was like, well, 33 years of putting gear on and working out in gear, and there's nothing shown up yet. I was pretty happy with that. And mind you, back in when I worked, your turnout gear, your bunker boots, whatever you want to call them, they were by your bed. And not only were they by your bed, as a new guy, you had to bring them all upstairs for everybody. So you're carrying this shit upstairs.
Oh, you were
So
carrying
there's
other guys to the room.
yeah,
upstairs
yeah,
of the
because
rookie.
yeah,
Wow. Kids,
yeah,
listen to that. Don't complain about your rookie stuff. You weren't carrying.
and you were a
it,
rookie
it's
for
cats
like
doing
you were a
it.
rookie for like years, like 10 years. It's not like it is now. So I was carrying that. You had to carry it up. You put your quick hitches on. You slid the pole. That was just the way it is.
But I'm sure,
So
being a smart rookie, you had like 4 in each hand and 1 in your teeth type of a thing to make less
oh
trips.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely, because it was 3 stories. So yeah. So I mean, these are the things that we did. So obviously, I've always in the back of my head have been concerned about that.
sure.
Overhaul with no hot bottle changes, overhaul with nothing on, and then I'm actually getting a Pernuvu CT scan Thursday,
What
which
is
is
that? That's a new
it's
one
an
by me.
entire CT scan of your whole body to
Okay.
detect any kind of cancer or anything. I already did the blood work one, so now I'm doing this. All my wife's idea. I
Listen, at
after
this
what happened to
point, right?
me, well, I don't even care anymore. I hate to say it's like that. If this didn't take me out, if I can get back from this, because I'm not going through anything like this again. Like I won't go through chemo or another open heart surgery. We could talk a little bit about that, what I went through, but I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it again.
So,
So that's
have
that's the deal.
in your time there, though, did you do like I do an echocardiogram every year that should technically see some type of a blockage. You just did cardiac stress testing, never like echoes or anything like that?
No echoes, and the blood work is kind of rudimentary. Like they don't really check the LDA, the ApoB, the VDA. I forget all of that.
Yeah, there's
If
a lot of
you
them in there.
if you
No
want
one's
to
gonna no
read a
one's gonna
book,
check you on it. Yeah.
yeah, Outlive by Peter Attia. If you want to read about it, uh, the chapter in the book explains it to a T exactly what you should be checking for, and that stuff kind of didn't exist. But I wasn't. I was so my markers were so just barely over the line
Yeah.
that it didn't have any cause for pause. So my blood pressure, for instance, I would go in and my blood pressure, oh, your blood pressure is a little high. Then I would do the stress test and my blood pressure would end up lower than it was when I came in. So like, oh, you're good. And my cholesterol was always good. Total number really doesn't matter. But the LDL, they call it good and bad. Dr. Peter Attia says if you go to a cardiologist and they call cholesterol good and bad, low and high, he says leave. Says it's so much more than that.
Oh, don't tell me that.
But
'Cause
the markers were just
I'm
barely
over
there.
the number, man. Every time I go, I'm like, the number's
Yeah,
150. Let's say I'm 162, and they're like, oh, you're just a little over. You'll be okay. Like you work
yeah,
hard,
that's the thing. Same with
right?
me. But the problem is it's not the number so much. It's what the plaque is doing. So mine somehow sticks for some reason. And you can talk to 10 different doctors. They'll give you 10 different reasons why.
Sure.
It could be blood pressure. It could be pre-diabetes. It could be a host of different things. But the bottom line is it's sticky. So either there's nothing I can do about it or there's something I can do about it. And but detection is the key. So now there's different ways to detect this. There's a CT scan, and then there's a CT angiogram. So the regular CT scan, which should be free for all firefighters, which I'm going to try to work on that, or just try to get the message out. So I've had 14 guys reach out to me on Instagram that I know that went and got a CT scan because of what happened to me. 14. So all of them luckily had 0 score or nothing. They didn't find anything, but that's a start. And you do the echo. I know your wife's a PA. right? So
Yes.
she's probably
So she,
directed you. You have a little bit of, you have somebody in your corner.
so we're really fortunate here in New Jersey. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there was a firefighter, Captain Bushio, I want to say about 20 years ago, was right before, maybe a little 21, 22 years ago, right before I got hired career. And he, at 39 years old, I think, had a widowmaker heart attack.
Yeah.
The same type of story that you're
Same
telling,
same
except
exact thing. Yeah.
he had that, and his wife started a foundation called a gift or Captain Bushio, and actually not just firefighters now, firefighters, police, EMS, and their spouses go every year, and we get every kind of cardiac related test you can imagine
Good.
that our insurance wouldn't cover, like an
Yes.
echocardiogram. So now I have mine from, I went when I was young on the job and was like, all right, I'm young, I don't need to keep going. And then
Right.
in true, firefighter jackass fashion, when I was 39 and went, and the doctor was explaining everything to me, I was like, so what do you think, doc? I'm 39. I'm in really good shape. I work out all the time. Maybe I wait 5 years and come back and see you guys. And his answer was along the lines of, that Dominic Buccio was 39 when this occurred, or right around that
Hmm.
age. And
Sure.
me, paramedic Pip sitting there is like, yeah, I'm a jackass. I'll be back next year. And I've gone every year since, and now I'll be 46 tomorrow. So now I have 7 years of studies done on me. So they're
That's
looking
great.
every year and looking for any changes. And it's such an important thing. And just, this is so weird too. This is how my life goes. Two rookies yesterday at shift change from the shift before me were both scheduling their appointments that day to go. And I'm like, dude, for the next 30 years, you guys go every year, you have this record, because prevention is
Yeah,
the key, or
you have
detection.
to, and you're never too young because a little bit of research I did, especially someone that I have, you start laying down that plaque in your teenage years because they did autopsies on teenagers and had a history of that. And there's plaque being laid down. Obviously, it's not going to become an issue till you're older, but it's always been. That's why I referenced earlier, like who knows what my blockage was when
Sure.
I was doing endurance sports, So, and then I went through a really bad time after the surgery mentally because a lot, obviously you can imagine, and one of the biggest questions I have is what did I've been doing this my whole life. I've been eating right, how many bad foods I turned down and cookies I passed over and all these things, and getting up at 4 a.m. to work out, all these sacrifices I made for health, and for what? To end up with a quadruple bypass at 58. But my surgeon, who was really cool, he said, listen, Scott, he said, if you didn't do all this, you probably would have died years ago from a heart attack. Died. Not found out you had a quadruple, died at work. You would have dropped dead at work. You would have dropped dead on one of your runs. And who knows what, and that they would not have been able to save you because you in that line of work. How many
And
saves do we have of people that have that, young guys that have that widowmaker? Not a
so
lot.
few, unless you're right
Not a
there,
lot.
like,
Unless
you're
you're right
running with,
there.
another paramedic that knows what they're doing that second, type of a
Yes.
thing.
So that made me feel a little bit better. And so when I first found out I was getting the cath, I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't want anybody to know. And then when I was in the hospital, I didn't want to tell anybody either because I didn't want it to get back to the fire department. So this is going to sound crazy. I actually talked to my fire chief about this. I changed my tune now, but I didn't want anybody at the fire department to know because I was always that guy. Like you said, you
You
were
were always the fitness
surprised.
guy.
Everybody was shocked. Hey, well, this guy was the one that always pushed us to eat right, to exercise, wellness, training on shift, not with weights on shift, but firefighter training on shift.
Yeah.
Always going, both, but you know what I mean. And I didn't want them to think that that was all for nothing. And you know how firemen are. I guarantee
100%.
you, they were all sitting at a table. Ah, fucking D'Angelo, it didn't do him any good.
All
Give me
that
that
pizza he
donut.
turned
And
down.
you
Yeah.
know that, yeah, that's what they're doing. And I'm like that. I'm fine with that, but I'm also fine with them knowing that there's someone they can talk to, or there's routes they can do, there's things they can do. So now I want them to know. And then, so when you asked me about the podcast, I was like, yeah, I want people to know that it's you still have to do all those things. It's okay, do them, but also try to get some early detection.
Well, again, we create that false sense of security for ourselves in the fact that, hey,
Yeah,
we're fitness people, right? And we work out, and this is the overall, like, listen, I'm not the, I will honestly say that very recently my metabolism has caught up with my age for the first time in my life, and my body
yeah,
is changing, right?
yeah.
Like,
It
I'm
slows
like,
down a
what?
little bit. Yeah,
This
that's
wasn't
yeah,
supposed to happen. Like, I thought I wanted to
yeah.
get to 50, and it just didn't work, I guess, for my body, right?
It
So I'm learning
happens.
things about eating now and what I'm eating and when I'm eating it that I've never
Sure.
needed to care about in my life, right? But I had that false sense of security that, hey, I'm a fitness guy. I've ran marathons, I've done triathlons. Like,
Yeah,
listen,
exactly.
people, we know, that people have heart attacks during marathons and things, but it's not going to be you, right? You're not going to be that
Exactly.
guy. And it's the
Yep.
same as being a firefighter, and I'm not going to be that guy. I can go run into the building because it's not vacant until I say it's vacant, or whatever that
Yep.
line is that I hate to hear people use, right? But this is that thing. We all have to be thinking about it, and we all have to be doing the best we can, whatever that takes.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I thought, my family history. Well, my family. They didn't do what I do. They didn't diet and exercise, and they all smoked. So it's like it's just that's why they had those problems. I'm not going to have that problem. I'm gonna out exercise my genetics. Now, you talk to 10 doctors, you're going to get 10 different answers. Some say it is genetic, some say it isn't. So it's all over the place. So right now I'm having to take the accountability for everything I do kind of in my own hands. And I'm doing a lot of research on a lot of different cardiologists out there, some that, because I don't want to be on medications, but right now I'm actually only on two, so which is really great
Yeah, as
considering I was
opposed to
on
people
about.
who are on nine,
Well,
like,
people don't ask questions.
yeah.
They're not accountable for their own. Why am I taking this? Why am I taking this dose? So I don't want to be on medicines because I don't want side effects, and I want to be healthy and I still want to do everything I want to get back to where I was or hopefully even better. I feel it should be better,
Well, you're
but we'll
cleaned out
see.
now, so in theory,
Well,
you're
that's the thing.
you're all clear.
I have four new, ways of getting blood to my heart where I was only getting 15% there. And so my
Isn't
ejection
that
fracture is
amazing?
great. So,
I had a really
everything
good
should be working great.
I had a really good paramedic instructor, and one of the things that he would drill into our head, though, regardless of what it is we see or what it is we do, is that your body is an amazing machine. And
Yeah.
for all those years with those blockages, your body, your specific Scott's body, somehow managed to keep you functioning at the level you were functioning, right? It was
It found a
compensating, let's
way.
say,
It
right?
found a way to get the blood. If it shut it off to other areas, who knows what happened? But I remember, I never forget like the day after my surgery, my wife looks at me. She's like, your face looks better. Like you look younger. I'm like, oh, well, maybe the blood flows back to my face. So who knows? I
Right?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I go, that's encouraging. I feel like a bag of assholes, but thank you.
I'm glad you
It
still love
was,
me, dear. Like, I'm glad you could
yeah,
get
it
the other
was,
face if you wanted to stay with this one.
yeah. And like everything, this is my challenge now is getting back. So, I'm 11 weeks now. So they say one more week and you're pretty much fully healed to your sternum. So, I'm getting back. It was a rough go for that first few weeks. I could see where a lot of people can get addicted to drugs, painkillers, fall into major deep depression, and because there's some demons there, bro.
Well, I
There's
think
some
that's the next
serious
hardest.
demons.
That's been my scariest part, too. Another one of my scary parts that I don't mind talking about is if something did happen. Okay,
Mm,
something happens, right? I get injured or anything like that. Then you have to come back from that injury, but you're nowhere near. I mean, I had the flu 2 weeks ago. I didn't work out for six
yeah,
days and I was going not, I was
right.
just not me, right? I needed to do something. I went and walked on the treadmill for 90 minutes of just walking because I had to do something,
You had to
right?
do
Like, so,
something.
so when you think about those
So
demons, that's rough.
yeah, and it's deeper than that even. So it's if you're somebody like us, and I'll lump you into that with me, is we're cerebral, but we're not scientists or philosophers, or we're not writing books. We're physical people. So everything we've done in our life is physical. Our jobs, are exercising or whatever sport or competitions we're doing. I'm sure you fix all the shit around your house
Ooh,
and,
easy,
you
easy.
know,
I'm
your
not Mr. Fix
car.
It. Wait, I have to stop you there. I'm not Mr. Fix It. I am definitely
Okay,
not.
but to a point, you know what I
To a
mean?
point.
But you're still a guy. You still
I want to
carry the
figure it
heavy
out,
shit into
right?
your
There's
house,
I
bring
want to
the
look at it
groceries
and figure
in.
it out. Yes.
You're a physical person, right? So
Yep.
that's gone. Your identity is gone overnight. So I went into my surgery feeling great. Just I PR'd some weights 2 days. I felt amazing. And the next morning, you are pretty much helpless. It's very vulnerable. And I've never been vulnerable in my life before. So it was the first time in my entire life at 58 years old that I'm vulnerable and reliant on other people to take care of me. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a stubborn old guy like me. Like I couldn't even lift like a gallon. I couldn't put like a gallon of milk on the table. Like you just completely shredded and just laying there. And then everyone's like, it's going to get better. And I couldn't even feed myself. And then the next day, like my son was feeding me chicken because I couldn't do it. And the nurse was like, he's got to feed himself. I'm like, I can't get the food from over here to
My
my
arm
mouth.
doesn't
It
work,
keeps
lady.
falling off the goddamn fork. Like, what's this guy thinking? But you know, it was just, and then you come home and you know you have all the effects of the anesthesia and everything, and it just messes with you, and it takes like a real strong person to get over it. I admit it. I'll tell people I was fucking crying for no reason. I'm like, what is this substance coming out
Again,
of my eyes? I never cry, and then I'd watching TV and I'd cry. Like, fuck, man,
those
is
are
this gonna
all the
end?
normal, but that's all the normal reactions, right? That we're learning about now. In
I
1988 in the
guess
fire
so.
service, no one was talking about any of this stuff, right?
Oh
Whereas
no,
now,
no, no.
medically, firefighting, Lee, whatever you want to say, Lee. I mean, I just took a hazmat incident commander class, and one of the not highlights, but one of the points of that was after a major hazmat, post incident stress debriefing. Because you don't know what you're thinking about, what you've been exposed to. You could have employees on that scene that are
Oh yeah,
thinking differently than you, that I was just exposed to this. What's going to happen to my family? I wore my boots in the house. What's going to happen to my family?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so it's a totally different world. And you had that experience, both in early days of the fire service to the transition, but then you had it personally, which is a whole different level.
Yeah, like nothing ever bothered me through my fire service. Really, like I'm always really good at managing stress, and I always felt I was really great at that and not bringing it home. And you know, but this was a little different because this was your identity was taken away from you.
And you
And I don't
couldn't,
want to compare myself to people that have lose limbs or have car accidents that are perfectly fine, and the next day they're not. I just spent some time this weekend with Victor Asaf. I don't know who you know who he is. He's
no.
a CrossFit. He just won the adaptive games. He has one arm. He was in a motorcycle accident a few years ago. Went through a real troubled time. He's doing amazing now. He obviously won the CrossFit games, but I spent time with him this weekend. I said, Victor, I go, I'm not comparing myself to you, but I want to say that I really feel the demons that you had to feel because you one day you were perfectly fine and the next day you weren't, and I know what that feels like, and the road getting back. So it's not like, hey, in 4 weeks I'm going to be back to normal. I'm still not back to normal, and it's hard to deal with, but it's better than it was. Those first few weeks were horrible. So if any, the reason I'm telling people to get checked and do these things is you do not want to go through what I went through.
And
Trust
it's
me.
one of those things too where, and I hadn't even thought of this, that road back,
Trust me.
that
Yeah.
feeling of, listen, I'm prepared to go to work and I'm
Mm-hmm.
prepared for something to happen at work because that's what I do for 24 hours and for 21 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not prepared to go into a doctor's office and have them tell me I have a 85% blockage in my heart and this is going to be my
Yeah.
life. And that's
Well,
harder
thank
to
God
think
I'm
about than anything.
retired because I don't know when. I think they said you can go back in 3 months. I don't know. I've never seen it
No.
before. I know we had a guy that had a valve replacement who came back in 12 weeks, but I don't know if you come back to normal duty like that because you know I'm right now. I started my rehab pretty quickly, as you can imagine, as fast as I could. I had some complications, which held me up. I had fluid in my lungs really bad. I had to get drained. They drained a big gulp out of my right lung. That's 900 cc. It's a big gulp.
Yeah.
But I guess it's normal. Anyways, so I kind of started my garage training in about 4 weeks and started my cardiac rehab right around there. So I'm doing real well on my cardiac rehab, but I went back to the gym last Monday. So I'm using all the machines. I'm squatting, not a lot,
It's okay.
but
You don't have to squat a lot, just squatting, right? Like I've told people this forever. It's hard, but you don't have to squat a lot.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, you're talking to someone who squats a lot, so
I know what you mean, but you don't have to do that yet. You got to get there. Right?
You don't have to do it yet, but you want to. But you want to do
it.
It's a funny thing because I thought of this the other day. My friend, who used to be a real fast runner, like 17-minute 5K, and I remember years ago I running 5Ks and just for training. I'm like, hey, bro, why don't you come? He goes, no. He goes, I can't show up to that race and run over 20-minute 5K because, I have my name to, And I get that because I was like, I don't want to go to the gym and just put like 300, 315 on the bar and squat it when I know I can do way more. It's just a mental thing, right? But I'm okay with it now. I didn't want to go to the gym. I also didn't tell you, I lost 25 pounds of muscle.
Oh, during the whole not being able to work and eat or work out and eat and things?
Bro, immediately. Like I wasn't even home a week and I weighed myself. I was like, what the fuck? 25 pounds. So I've gained 11 back, but I wouldn't go out in public. My wife's like, let's go to eat. I'm like, no, I'm not going out in public. I look like I'm too skinny. And she thought it was the stupidest thing, but I'm like, you don't understand. I lost 25 pounds. I don't want to go outside. I didn't go out in public for a month. I refused.
Well, you were in the summer in Florida too, so you definitely couldn't bundle up and hide that way either. So
yeah, it was hot out too. So even walking the neighborhood, I don't want anybody to see me because you have to walk every day. So, but I'm over all that now. Like my mental health is good. I'm okay with it. I go to the gym. I don't give a shit how much weight I'm putting on, and it doesn't matter. I could give a shit, which is a good place to be.
And I think
but it wasn't easy getting there.
A great part of your story, though, is like I didn't even think of these things. That's why I'm happy to agree to
I didn't think of them either.
Right? Like nobody talks about.
You don't think
we talk about so many of them. We don't talk about this,
bro. There is no guide to what to expect after open heart surgery at home. So everybody's different. There's groups, but there's really no guide. Like, hey, yeah, if you have a mental health problem, they say, oh, you need to go talk. The doctor will be like, you're going to need to go talk to a psychologist. If you're having problems, like I was having problems urinating, I call them up. My cardiologist office, they're like, well, we're not urologists. You need to go see a urologist. Well, you guys just split me open, and I'm calling you and telling you I'm having these issues. You should call the urologist, not me.
This is your fault.
Yeah, because I can't get him to see the urologist for a month. So I had this problem. So thank God I have a friend who's a physician who's able to help me out with some issues, but they just kind of send you home and good luck. Don't lift anything heavy. Good luck. Come in a month. And they send home health care, but I'm not slamming anybody. I'm just saying it's just, once again, in your life, you have to take accountability for your own life, for your own everything, even after a major surgery.
Which is, again,
you can never rely on anybody.
It's so hard too when you are the person that fixes the problem, right? I say this repetitively.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, like with our job, and why we can't relate to people who don't do our job is because like someone has a problem, we go there and we fix it.
Yep.
When I call you to fix my problem, whether it's my car, my body, my this, my that, you don't fix my problem. You give me a runaround. Like it's not a quick fix for anything.
Yeah, let's get the whiteboard out. Let's figure this out. Let's fix the problem. Let's go with a contingency plan if this doesn't work. I mean, that's how we live our lives,
Yeah.
My wife, we have a whiteboard in her office because I have to live by a whiteboard. I have to live by these decisions, You
don't have boxes and lines though, right? You're not living in an ICS chart because I know you teach ICS all over the place. You don't have your day planned out.
I do teach ICS, and then that would be an amazing thing actually because it would be so efficient, but we do not. I'm not saying that I won't draw them in there, but yeah, the ICS system actually, and I tell people all the time when I teach, it actually works. Believe it or
It does
not,
work. That's why we keep using it. When you
it does
implement
work.
it
If it's done right, it works. It works amazing. So
on a small
and
scale or a big scale, it does work. You cannot take that away
yeah,
as long as you do it right.
and to add to it, that was taken away from me too. I had a bunch of classes that I was really excited about teaching, and I couldn't teach them obviously, but I'm getting back into it. Next month I'm teaching again, so I'm really excited about that.
And that too was like
So
your retirement gig, right? Like you started teaching more. You were teaching when you were on the job. I know that, but you were traveling around
well,
teaching.
on the job it was I didn't do any actual FEMA or ICS teaching on the job, but I was prepared to. I was taking on all the classes, and I was doing deployments, and I was in that world. But I didn't do any actually teaching until after I retired, and then I started teaching and teaching more and more, and I'm continually working on that, and I love it, man. It's like the best thing for me.
That's awesome. I mean, it's just great
It's
that you found
perfect.
something too post job. That's what we're all looking to do. It's something that we love doing, and that if it can
Well, that's the key. You
keep
have to
you in
love
it a
doing
little bit
it.
too, right? It keeps you in it a little
Yeah,
bit.
it does. I didn't want to go work a 40-hour work week as a chief somewhere or something because I want to have the ability to have my freedom and my days off and travel. And this is perfect because I pick up classes. They send the schedule out. I put in for it. I don't deployments. I'm going to get a deployment every year down here, no
Yep,
matter
for sure.
what.
There,
So I even helped with this last one. I did work from home, right? So it was nice. So I was
you
able
you were
to
filling out 208 forms from home.
well, yeah,
Maybe
actually,
not a
how'd you know?
208, maybe not a
I
208,
actually
but
did do a 208
you
form. How'd
did.
you
Oh my
know?
God, look at that, man!
Yeah, I mean, I
know.
wasn't even a safety officer, but I did it anyway. But no, it was my team was they were actually over in Tampa doing the setting up the field that the roof got ripped off of, and that was physical work, so I couldn't be with them then.
Sure.
And then they came back here, and I joined as a technical specialist, and then I became the liaison, and I was ready to go back with them because it was just computer work. But then the roof got ripped off, and that mission was canceled. So
Which
as I'm
again
sure you
too,
saw
and
on the news.
until you get to the level of ICS, where you're on the higher levels and paying attention to it more. But there's computer jobs that involve the ICS system where you're just logging things that are happening and logging people
it's
in and
all
out and equipment.
it's all computer jobs, especially when you are not response. So I am retired, so response is done. I'm not on a federal team or a state team. I am 100% ICS or support. So we can still be at a full IMT team, but those positions, like you said, are all you're in a trailer. It's all you know, just basically collaborating and telling people what to do, that type of thing. That's all the IMT team is overhead positions. So that's all I can really do now as a retired guy. The
Which
only
isn't
time you're
bad.
going to get your boots dirty and hands dirty is if you join someone like Rubicon or somebody, and that's all volunteer work, which is great. But that's the only time you're going to get physical at
It's
work
interesting
anymore.
too when I watch these events happen and people getting deployed and things, and I'm like, maybe when I retire, I'll do Rubicon. Like I read his
You
book.
should. You
Jake wrote
should.
a really good book. Like, and I think that's something that you can
You
take.
should.
When I talk about taking the skills we have at work and moving them into not being at work anymore, that's definitely something that it directly correlates.
Well, it's the closest thing you could do, and I always talk about this, and that's when you retire, you're most likely if you were into the job, not on the job. When you retire, you are probably at the top of your game. So when I retired, I was 33 years in. I felt I was at the top of my game. I could do all the physical work still. I, I felt I could mentor people, and I knew all the ins and outs, and I felt I was really at the top of my game, and you just retired. So it's 33 years of knowledge just flushed down the toilet. Done. And because when you retire, you're done. Next day, you
That's it.
leave.
Yeah.
You're gone, bro. You're just a name. You're nothing. You're a civilian. You're nothing. So if anybody thinks anything different, you're wrong. But I
They
knew
haven't
that.
been paying
So
attention. That's what I tell people. You haven't been paying attention because when people retire
no,
from here, we make a big deal out of it and they're great and they come in and have
yeah,
coffee and
you're
this,
done.
that. But we still
Yeah,
go on the alarms. The ladder truck still rolls out whether I'm working or
yeah.
retired or not. Someone's going to be in my spot.
Anything you created is thrown away. It's all done. So now what? So now you sit at home. Most people they sit at home. They don't have an outlet. So I was really worried about it. But I'll tell you right now, retirement is the best thing ever. So the next day I didn't miss it. The next morning I woke up. I thought I didn't want to retire. I was scared to death to retire. I would have done anything to stay, but I did. But I feel that because I have my teaching and the other thing, that I'm able to use that outlet. I teach firefighters. I go and it's a room full of firefighters sometimes, cops, everybody, but I still have that interactive with the firefighters and it helps me. So I don't know if that's what helped me or I just was over it. Let me turn the room off.
I was wondering what that was in the background running. I'm like, there's some kind of
Yeah.
strange noise going on back there. But it's good too,
Oh,
what Scott's saying while he's not in the screen anymore. But I feel like that's something too, that knowing you're out, but still being able to stay in it and then relate, right?
yeah.
Like, look, man, you got stories from
Yes.
'88 that these kids today are craving to hear, but you're not telling them it to be like, oh, if it was like that today, it would be better. You're just telling them that because
No,
that's
just
how it
tell them a
was.
story. Tell
Yeah,
them a
and you're gonna
story,
have your own stories, and in 20 years, 33 years, you're gonna be telling a story to a kid that's gonna be totally different from today. You know?
Oh, without a doubt. And I use when I teach, I'll throw back into a story, but I try not to stay on them too much. But I I got to the point where I'm not a PowerPoint instructor anyway, so the PowerPoint usually is up there, and I'll just talk the whole chapter, and I'll throw a story in or there. I'll watch everybody, make sure they're not falling asleep. So but that goes with the being a firefighter for 33 years and having to sit through classes. Like you just learn these things.
Where people just
So
read the PowerPoint the entire
yeah,
time.
so it's great to have that fall back on. So the only advice I can give is, you get ready to retire, have something lined up. Even no matter what it is, so your foot's in the door a little bit because you might have a little depression or something, or not. Like I was fine with retiring and sleeping till 7:30 in the morning, drinking coffee till I went to the gym, go to the gym, come home, eat, take a nap. I mean, I was fine with that. Some people might not be fine with that, but I'm fine with it. But after a point, it's like, okay, I want to go teach a class, and most of them you travel to. So you're traveling somewhere, you're exposed to a different fire department, a different municipality, police, the way they do things. And I always say that you should do that anyways. I know you talked about it extensively on your show, the silo effect, and
Yeah.
how everybody just, you need to go to conferences and see how other people do things because you'll just be living in that silo effect. So it's nice to see how other people do things. So opened up a whole new world to me.
It's so funny in my preparation for retirement here in a few years, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon that year because at least that will give
There
me
you go.
something to train for, and that will
Oh,
keep me active, that I will stick to that schedule. I'm not going to do it now. I know I'm not going to do it now, but it's going to be my replacement of going there every 72 hours. Like
yep.
that little
You
bit of
have
something.
to have a plan. You have to have something. Even when I was competing in CrossFit, or kind of when I stopped competing in CrossFit, I'm like, no, what? So I'm like, well, I'm going to do a powerlifting competition because I have to have something. I have to have it mean something more a little bit, and you have a plan. You follow the plan. We're just so wired for that as
Sure.
firemen that we just can't stop it, no
I feel
matter
like
what.
too, and I don't think you can speak to this, and I know I can't, but I'm really looking for a volunteer firefighter who stopped volunteering. Like,
Yeah,
because how we talk about retiring, right? And we plan to
yeah,
retire and we're not going to be a firefighter anymore. We're going to do something else. But it's hard to find the volunteer that did it for a certain amount of time and was like, okay, I'm going to press the stop button now because I've done it so long and I'm okay with stopping. So if anybody's out there that's listening that has this type of a story, I'd love
yeah.
to have you come on and talk about it because I think it would be interesting. Because usually with volunteering, people stop because they move or they stop because they don't like someone at the volunteer department or they had kids or they just are a volunteer forever. So I'm interested to find someone like that if anyone is
Yeah,
listening.
that's good. Yeah, I always thought volunteers did it just to get out of the house, um, something to do, but
Which
I
I
don't,
don't
I don't
blame you
know.
either. Like
Because
sometimes
people would ask
we
me,
go to work to get out of the house. I go to work to get out of the
yeah,
house.
they're like, "Are you a volunteer?" I'm like, "I would never volunteer for this shit." But like you, I work in a very busy fire department, so it's like I wouldn't volunteer for this. This is no, I
It's
love it, but I
definitely a
wouldn't
different
volunteer
world.
for it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
listen, I started as a volunteer. I couldn't imagine doing it at my age or
no,
the way I feel now, pulling myself up into the rig. I'm like, I wouldn't want to do this as a volunteer right
I
now.
would, isn't
Like
that funny? Isn't that funny how uh, just getting in and out of the rig is and driving around and
the
that
stairs are
the
the driving
fucking
around, but
stairs,
the
dude.
stairs are the
Driving
worst
around in
hardest
a
part.
rig for like 2 hours in that non-bouncy ass seat, your back hurts, and then you get to the station, like you gotta go up 3 flights of stairs,
Yeah,
2 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, fuck, man.
I
That's when you
remember
know. That's when you know it's time to go.
the guy who rode in my seat when I got hired had about 23 years on the job, and he'd be coming down the stairs at night, like one hand on the railing, the other kind of on his head or his hip, and I'd be running down him or sliding the pole next to him to get to the
Yeah,
rig type thing, and now I'm him with one hand on
yeah.
the railing, like slowly going down the
Or
stairs.
you're pulling yourself up, and then
Yeah,
the rookie's like bouncing up the stairs to get to the fridge to hammer
that
out a
kid is
piece of cake. And
that
you're
kid is dressed. That kid is dressed, and I'm just getting to like, okay, let me take my Crocs off.
yeah, I was
But
sleeping with most of my clothes on because it took you too long. Like,
it's all part
yeah,
of it,
but
man.
you
It's
just,
all the great part of it. We're
it's all
in no
part of it.
way. I love every minute of it, and I know you do too.
Oh, I loved it. I didn't want to leave, and
Yeah.
but I was 55 when I left, and that seems to be the sweet spot. And most guys I talk to, they're around that age, or they're really thinking about it. It's really hard to go past 55 years old at a busy fire department.
Yeah,
You
because you're
don't
just
see
going
it.
too much. That's it. Like
You
I'm
just don't
happy I'm
see
not
it.
at a very, very busy. I'm at a busy, like not very, very
Yeah,
busy. When I talk to folks that are like, "Oh, we did 15 calls in 24 hours again," and I'm like, 15 calls in 24 hours is a lot of calls at this
it,
point where I'm
it,
feeling
it
like,
is. It is. And when I did that, I was just shelled. Even being on an engine or a truck, you're still, you know, you're not in the medic rig running 15, but if you're running a dozen or so on, you're still tired
yeah,
because you're
it's
doing all the other stuff.
yep.
You
And then
know,
you're
you
and then you have your next day. Like we talk about this now, where like we
yeah,
finish at 8 a.m. and I don't come home and go to sleep. I go until 8 p.m., 10 p.m. the next night, just with life, with recording podcasts, being a dad, the dog, the
yeah,
house, all
you're
those
busy.
things. Like,
Yeah.
um,
For me, I was lucky in my last few years. I would just come home, and sometimes I would come home and sleep for 2 hours, and then make coffee and get up like it was morning again. Where when I
it's a
was
whole new
younger, like
morning.
you, I always had another job to go to or something, or I trained. So that's I started doing that. I started slowing down pretty much when I was 50. So things started slowing down a little bit,
See,
but
that's why I'm retiring at 50. I don't want to slow them down. I just want to keep them going.
yeah, retire at 50, but just make sure you get your just make sure you keep getting your heart checked
Yeah. Oh
because you
no, and
don't want to
that's
be
another
as
cool thing. The same thing with us. In retirement, I can still go to Captain Boucher every year. So
that's
it's
great.
a great
That's
thing in New
great.
Jersey that Donna started many years ago, and she was just on a podcast, I believe, last week. Um, oh my God, I was on it too. What does he call it? I don't know if it's called the Jersey Guys, but it's about people from New Jersey, emergency services providers from New
Yeah,
Jersey, and she spoke about it. So
yeah. We'll talk more about it off the podcast
yeah, yeah,
because I'm toying around with the idea of starting a little web page or not for profit type thing. Now, granted, I don't want it to be for profit. That's one thing I hate is I feel the fire service has turned into such a profitable, motivational speakers and all this
it's a
stuff.
business.
And but
It's a
there's
business, just
it
like
is a
anything
business,
else,
but I
man.
don't want this to be a business. I want this to be a website. I was going to call it don'tbeastatistic.com, which is basically saying don't work your whole life and then die within 5 years because I believe that's the number. There's a number out there. I don't know exactly what it is, but most guys retire
Actually,
and they die within a short period of
it's
time,
hard to
whether it's
find that
from
number,
heart
Scott,
disease or
because
cancer.
we were trying to find early on with 555, we were trying to prevent people on the job from having line of duty deaths due to
Yeah,
cardiac related disease. We were really
hmm
looking for that number, and it's so hard to find. No
it
one
is
wants to
hard.
really put it out there. Like
No,
it just,
no one wants to put it out there because for obvious reasons they don't want to put it out there. But it. I just know from personal experience that a guy retires and they do really well, or you get you get that email in the morning, Captain so and so or Battalion Chief so and so died or has cancer.
Sure.
We have our department had a ton of guys with cancer, and they were all at the same couple big fires. So it's just one of those things. So don't be a statistic.com. It just resources like that for the Jersey guys. Hey, you can get this test done.
Yeah.
I talked to an imaging guy. I'm like, work out a deal for the firemen, because if they can get CT calcium for $100, which guys, you can't get these guys to spend $100, but they're, driving a brand new F-250 with a boat. But it's like, bro, it's $100, and you can use your HSA money. Here it is. But I was that same guy. I didn't, I'm like, I don't need to do that. I'm still
driving the new F-250.
Yeah, well, it's a 2011. It's a 2011. But I didn't fight my wife on like certain things. She's like, the cancer stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
We don't want to know.
Then I'm gonna be freaked out every day about it. I don't want to know. But for her, I'm doing it for her. But but there's all these things out there that you can do to either early detection or prevent. And
listen, man, I may know a firefighter health related not for profit that's maybe lost its way in the past couple of years, and maybe we can
I think we need to rekindle that sucker up.
Offload. Yeah, that may be a good way for us to find our way again. So we'll talk after this. I like that.
I would love to. Yeah, I got time, and I have the passion for it, obviously, because I want, if I could just help one guy or gal out, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. And I don't want
the best parts of this. And you told the story now, and I'm not going to say I guarantee, because that would be the business, the cheap New Jersey car salesman of me, but someone listening to this is going to get checked out. Like you said, so many people reached out to you on social media.
I had 14 people, which I thought was astonishing. Yeah. And some of them weren't all firemen. A couple of them were CrossFit competitors that I know. And because they know me, and I'm not anything amazing, but they know that they know me that, hey,
they lay down sweat next to you.
Can't believe this happened to you. You're one of those guys that, you always hard charger doing things. And
hard charger. Okay. So we're getting close to your hour. We're already over your hour.
Yeah.
We still have the size up 10, but listen, here's something I can say, and you can confirm this, that Jocko Willink stood right in front of us at like 4:30 in the morning in a parking lot in Texas. And I don't remember the time, if it was 2 minutes or a 3-minute round of burpees. And he literally just kept saying to us, get down, or stand up, fall back down.
Yeah.
Stand up, fall back down. Again. And at one point we looked at each other, and I'm like, is he ever going to leave us alone? Like, go pick on one of these other couple hundred people here. And he stayed the entire time right at us.
We were also the only two people that asked questions in a room of 500 people.
That was true. We were asking questions.
And our questions were good. Everybody else's sucked. That was, I remember that. That was fun.
That was fun. Talk about and I wasn't quitting, and I know you weren't quitting, and especially with him in front of us. Like, I didn't. It was like quit. that little bit of a Navy SEAL moment where you're like, why are they looking at me? I just wanted to be the
I'd still be there right now if he was doing it 5 years later. I'd still be doing 5 years of burpees.
You'd still be doing it.
There was no way I was quitting in front of that dude. No fucking way, bro. And that's just my mentality. So it's, I would have chest pain. Fuck it.
Yeah, thank God you didn't have a Widowmaker next to me there. And I'd be like, man, I had to do CPR on this dude right next to me.
Yeah.
You ruined my burpees. Man. I could still be doing burpees with Jocko.
No, I'd tell you, I'd be like, just finish the burpees. Yeah. I got this.
Leave me.
Don't be a pussy. Finish your burpees. I would have given you shit. If I made it out alive. I would have been like, you didn't finish your burpees.
Where can folks find you on social media if they want to reach out if they have questions?
My Instagram is Scottness with 3 S's.
It'll be in the show notes for sure, as always.
Yeah,
so.
It's you're not going to find any inspirational or motivational quotes or anything. I'm not that guy. I'm not.
You're just the guy that did it.
I'm not touting mindset and all these things. I'm just to me, it's just nobody cares. Work hard. I got the nobody's cares. Work harder attitude. I don't have any answers, but I just like you said. What you just said. I just do it, man.
That's it, man. That's what it's all about. I can't thank you enough for sharing this story.
There's no magic pill.
You made me think of some things that I'm like, I should be prepared for that.
Or quote to read is just do it. Just go.
We can't say just do it because that's copywritten somewhere. So I can't call this episode that. I'll get in hell out of trouble.
No, don't call it that. Don't call it anything.
I have to name it something. I already have what it's named. I wrote that down a long time ago.
You'll figure it out.
Are you ready for the size up 10?
Yeah, I'm really nervous about them.
Good. I like that part. Good. I made you nervous.
Because every time I listen to a podcast, I'm like, ooh, I don't know what I would say to that. All right, but give it a shot.
Beach or mountains? Which one are you picking?
Man, this is the first one to start. I have a house in the mountains, right?
I do. Big snowboarder,
I have a house in
right?
Steamboat Springs, Colorado, right on the ski and ski out. So obviously with me, mountains.
Nice. Night out or a night in?
Night in, baby.
Give me a movie everyone needs to see.
I can't with a movie right now. Can't with a movie. I can't think of one.
Nothing that you watched while you were training for 100 and 800-mile bike ride or
something?
No,
I had nothing. Let's circle back to that one.
All right. Okay, then I don't know how you're going to answer this one then. How about if you're on a cross-country road trip, who is your celebrity co-pilot, living or dead?
Oh, my celebrity co-pilot?
Famous person, celebrity,
Alive or dead?
Alive or dead, yeah, they could be dead. Why not?
I suck at these. I don't. I don't have a celebrity celebrity co-pilot, but can I just say my dad? I'd rather have my dad there.
100%. You can say your dad.
I like to have my dad. I like to have my dad because we missed a lot. So
nice.
And then he'd be forced to listen to me because we're on a road trip.
At least you're honest with it. Do you make your bed every day?
Yes.
How about a book that everyone needs to read, and not the one
this
you
is
held
easy
up
for
before?
me.
What do you got?
Left of Bang.
Left of Bang. All right, that's
it's my Bible, baby.
What is the general premise of Left of Bang?
It's basically it's about situational awareness. Okay. It's basically a book that the Marines wrote about staying left of bang, left of the problem, being proactive. I use it every day in my life. Nice.
I will have to check that one out because I do like the situational awareness.
It's an amazing book.
Thing.
Well, it's all about how the brain works and cognitive skills, and it's an amazing book. So
nice. All right, which one are you taking when you're out there? The highways or the back roads?
Man, see, again, well, probably highways so I get there faster, but
it's a good
depends
on
where I'm at.
Many people give it. So
highways when I'm in Florida and back roads when I'm in Colorado. How's that?
Okay, that's a good one to go. although the highways in Colorado are pretty scenic too, some of them. So it's
I mean, in the town I have my house in, there's really no highway. So
there's no highway.
There's one. It runs right through the middle of town. So.
So you, my friend, are a well-traveled man, but give me a bucket list place that you want to visit still.
Oh, there's so many. And I'm just going to say Italy because my wife and I talk about it almost daily. And during COVID, we had a trip planned to go for 3 weeks and it got canceled. Gotcha. And we haven't found our way back. So let's throw Italy up there.
Make it happen because it is a beautiful country to visit.
Yeah.
Which one is it for you? Is it football or football?
Hockey. Did you talk about hockey?
Did you say hockey? I did say hockey. You're right. I did say hockey. Yep, you're correct.
Huge.
Hockey. Okay.
I'm a hockey fanatic.
Gotcha. The last one, and I feel like
your Devils are hurting a little bit too. By the way,
it's early in the season. It's early. Come on, we got some time.
You got to fix your goaltending. Luke Hughes needs to come back. I mean, but they're doing all right. Ducks handed it to them.
It's all we have in New Jersey, so that's New Jersey. Everything else we have to steal from.
You got Jack Hughes, though.
States,
I mean,
yeah,
they're interesting. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, it's funny actually. The engine driver in my house just was selling tickets yesterday for his kids' hockey team, so we may be going.
Oh, nice!
With a bunch of us, yeah, good deal too.
Good, go.
All right, the last one. The best piece of advice you could give to your younger self. Although I feel like that's been this whole podcast is that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would have been a couple months ago, but right now it's get yourself checked out better.
Perfect. I mean, and that is at any age. Like, I know a lot of young kids listen to this podcast, right? Like, and by young kids, I mean like in their 20s. But go, especially if you're in a place like New Jersey where you have these screenings. They just approved our Presumptive Cancer Act, and now we can get extra cancer screenings that they're working on. That's still it's not an exact science yet here, but they're trying to get it for us. in different places. Go, take your day and go. Grab a bunch of people you work with, go get your screenings, and then go out to lunch afterwards. My
Yeah, there's
wife
so
and I use it
much.
as a day date.
There's so many better things out, advanced technology out there now that hopefully you take advantage of.
For sure.
But still, at the end of the day, realize that our job comes with applied and inherent risks that you are going to be exposed to these things. But low hanging fruit, as I like to call it, do those things. Eat right, educate yourself, get yourself checked out. It's the best thing you can do. That's what the advice I would have given myself. So.
Isn't that it too? And this is never going to end, but like, I didn't think working out was a low hanging fruit, especially like when we started 555. It was like, work, but it is really the low hanging fruit. Like, just do a little workout every day, right? Get out there for 20 minutes, go for a walk, do something physically active. Like, just, that's fun.
Yeah, seize the day, earn the day. That's what I call it, earn the day. Do something, even if it's a walk.
Yep, just a
couple-mile walk in the neighborhood.
Walks at night. I can't say it because the dog will go crazy, but she comes home.
Yeah, I can't say it either. Yeah, we do it twice a day with ours. So my wife walks every day. So
did you think of a movie in this time that you want people to go see?
There was a movie, and I can't remember the name. I think it was called. It was a music movie. I think it was called 1972, and I think it's on. I don't know. It's on
some streaming service, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it was all about the music in 1972. See that movie.
All right, 1972. That's amazing. I will have to check that out. I've never heard of it. I know nothing about what you're talking about, but I'm proud of you.
I like documentaries. I watch documentaries like crazy, so I'll probably think of a movie later. I just can't think of a movie that I saw recently that was any good.
It's funny because I'm like quizzing you on this, and there's really no right or wrong answer or rules, so you could have just been like, screw you, Pip.
What was that movie about the atom bombs?
Oh, Oppenheimer. That just came out?
That was the last real good movie I saw.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that.
There you go.
Someone else picked that, so I really have to watch that.
It's good. If you like history, especially, it's a good movie, but I can't really think of anything.
I have kept you 10 minutes over the time I promised you that you would be here, and I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story and for your friendship all these years, because again, we met on not a whim, but just one of those ways that I've met different people and we stayed in contact all these years, and it's been great, man. So hopefully we do some more stuff here in the future.
All right, thanks. I really appreciate your time, man.
Nah, no worries, man. Listen, this has been a really great episode, and it's got me thinking about a lot of things, and I'm hoping it's doing the same for you. And that's something that I try to do with each one of these episodes is just get myself thinking. So there's a little bit of selfishness in here, and get all of you thinking about something. So thanks for
absolutely,
tuning
100%.
in. Right? It's good to be thinking every now and again.
Absolutely.
So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, this is Pip for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters.
National Fire Radio.